Hello, my name is Matthew Granger, and this is the FCTO Weekly Forex Outlook for the week of the 4th of June 2012. A particularly busy week, especially with central banks, awaits us. Ben Bernanke testifies and could hint about QE3. And rate decisions are scheduled in Canada, Australia, the UK, and in the troubled Eurozone. Europe is not alone. China showed more signs of slowdown, and the US will not be able to save the world. Non-farm payrolls rose by only 69,000, and together with downward revisions of previous data, a higher unemployment rate and slower growth in Q1, the US could be carried down rather than be the world's economic locomotive. How will currencies react? Here is an outlook for the major events awaiting us this week. Please note, all the times mentioned are GMT. First off, on Tuesday, we have the Australian rate decision at 4:30 a.m. As some expected, the Reserve Bank of Australia decided to cut the official interest rate by 50 base points to 3.75% last month. The Reserve Bank of Australia's Governor, Glenn Stevens, argued that lower inflation outlook and weaker market conditions were the cause for this cut, aimed to stimulate the economy. He also stated that they may cut rates further in the coming months if required. The rate is expected to remain 3.75%, although a cut to 3.5% cannot be ruled out in the current economic climate. Later on during Tuesday, we also have the Canadian rate decision at 1 p.m. The Bank of Canada maintained its overnight rate at 1%, calling for a possible reduction of the current monetary policy stimulus. No change is expected now. Next on Wednesday is the Eurozone rate decision at 11:45 a.m, with the press conference following at 12:30. Mario Draghi hinted that the European Central Bank is in no rush for any action. A rate cut is certainly desired for the struggling European economies. A recent PMI data was very worrying, even for Germany. Nevertheless, there are higher chances that the ECB will not cut the rates below the historic low of 1%, as headline inflation is still above the 2% target. The ECB might cut the rates as part of a globally coordinated move by central banks, as in the current situation, a rate cut will be positive for the euro. On Thursday, we're back in Australia with the Australian employment data at 1:30 a.m. Australia's unemployment rate improved in April to 4.9%, following 5.2% in the previous month. Analysts expected a rise to 5.3%. In the meantime, the employment market added 15,500 new positions in April, following 37,600 in March, but higher than the 4,800 contraction predicted by analysts. A small addition of 900 positions is predicted, with a rise to 5.1% in the unemployment rate. Later on Thursday, we have the UK rate decision at 11 a.m. The Bank of England maintained yet again its interest rate at 0.5%, announcing they will not raise rates until late 2013 due to unsatisfactory growth rate. Also, the quantitative easing programme remain unchanged at £325 billion. Meanwhile, inflation is higher than anticipated, going above the 3.5% predicted by the Bank of England and their 2% official target rate. The same rate is expected to be maintained, but there is a 50% chance that the Bank of England could introduce more quantitative easing now. This is far from certain, but definitely on the cards. Mervyn King expressed a lot of worry about the implications of the Eurozone crisis on the British economy. On the other hand, the Eurozone crisis is keeping British yields very low, so the impact is limited. Still on Thursday, there are the US unemployment claims at 12:30. The number of Americans filing initial unemployment claims rose last week to a 5-week high, with 383,000 new claims after 370,000 in the week before. Economists expected a reduction in the number of claims to 369,000. This disappointing data suggests the job market remains sluggish. The decline in recent weeks at an average of 370,000 claims implied hiring strengthened, but mixed economic indicators make it hard on economists to find a substantial growth trend in the US economy. Another rise of 385,000 is expected now. Capping off a very busy Thursday is Ben Bernanke speaking at 2 p.m. Ben Bernanke, head of the Federal Reserve, will testify before the House Financial Services Committee in Washington, D.C. on a semi-annual monetary policy report. In his recent talk at a news conference following the monthly 2-day meeting at the Federal Reserve, he warned that the US economy is heading for a fiscal cliff, claiming a US Congress is postponing serious economic decisions until after the elections, which will lead to a potential economic train wreck. Once obligatory budget cuts in federal spending and a termination of the Bush-era tax cuts could crush the struggling US economic recovery. Back in Canada on Friday, we had the Canadian employment data at 12:30. Canada's economy added 58,200 jobs in April, with a majority of full-time positions, almost 6 times more than predicted by economists, following an 82,300 increase in March. However, despite the impressive job gain, the unemployment rate increased a bit to 7.3% from 7.2% in March, due to improving job prospects, encouraging more people to look for work. And finally on Friday, we have the US trade balance at 12:30. US trade deficit widened more than predicted in March, rising to $51.8 billion following a contraction in February. Imports increased by $238.6 billion, while exports rose by $186.8 billion. The increase in the value of imports was caused by higher fuel prices. A small contraction to $49.6 billion is expected this time. And that's it for the first complete week of June 2012. For more detailed analysis and daily updates on all the news affecting the Forex market, please visit us at www.forexcurrencytradingonline.co.uk. That's www.forexcurrencytradingonline.co.uk.